Hey, my name is Drew Pegday. Today is August 29th, it's a Tuesday, it's around 1:30, and I'm making this video in order to express an emotion that I've been able to read about and learn more about as I've progressed in this kind of self-improvement journey. Now, given that the date is August 29th, we already obviously know that it's nearing the end of the summer, kind of gaining less degree of freedom as we move towards the school year where responsibilities amount to a greater extent than you would like to imagine. And at that point, I'm simply trying to express the thoughts that I have now, so I can maybe look back upon this, reflect upon the emotions and opinions that I'm having in a raw form in order to notice how much change I've been able to bring about. Now, one of the things that I want to be able to discuss before I dive into the main topic is how expressive I find this type of video making kind of situation. Because we live in a point in the 21st century where if you have a phone, that's enough for you to be able to connect with other individuals around the planet. We have a cross-cultural connection, and that's generally because we're able to understand one another in a way that other species simply can't. And I also find that platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, all these allow us for a social connection in an expressive manner that a lot of different social media doesn't really account for, nor does regular human connection. Nowhere else can you simply sit down and express your thoughts for approximately 5 minutes and be able to gain this level of standing that you might find nowhere else. And that's quite interesting to me. It's fascinating the way that the world works right now, and I find it that one of the benefits of having such an online medium to be able to express yourself in a way that you find desirable. If you want to be arcane, if you want to be ardent, everything that you want to be able to express yourself as, you have the freedom and degree to be able to do that, because individuals who have not seen you operate in real life before have no idea of how you actually manage yourself, the personality that you have, the dislikes and likes that you're able to exhibit, and the overall way that you just simply are able to stay dedicated to your craft. And because of that, we kind of have an online identity as well. So the main topic of this video, obviously, I don't want to speak too long about freedom of thought and such, is Wu Wei, which is basically a concept in Taoism, which I was able to read and learn more about. And it's basically a way of finding fulfillment through being able to stick and adhere to a singular task, and being able to do this in a sort of simple, minimalistic way. We want to be able to clear and unclutter our minds from a lot of these different emotions that we continuously feel. Now, as you might know, I'm an individual who likes prioritizing self-improvement to a certain degree. Of course, anyone who's not watching probably does not know this, and as I mentioned, it gives us the kind of arcane feeling that we want. However, this is something that I want to establish. Ultimately, I do not think that this video is going to get more than like 3 or so views, but I want to be able to express this for myself. At this point in my life, I'm prioritizing it less than I am in comparison to the other aspects that I kind of feel are more important. At this point, I want to be able to exercise a degree of freedom in the things that I do, and by that I mean the things that I study. I want a complete freedom of that, and that's what I find most important. When you were in the middle school days, I remember how I used to be able to study a various degree of topics, and it was more about the actual vision of being able to study and the knowledge that you gain in these various different areas that made it so enticing. But because of now going into a more higher degree of learning, being able to immerse myself in a higher kind of complexity itself towards a singular subject, it becomes sometimes exhilarating, and other times it becomes tiring. And you can't really know which way you're going to feel until you actually start to pursue it. And one day you might feel that you have an eminent interest in the subject that you're kind of pursuing. Maybe you're learning new topics that you haven't really discovered before, or maybe you just simply have to repeat and read more about a subject that you already feel familiar with. However, it's necessary in order for you to take the next step. That's something that you don't really want to take, but it's necessary if you want to get to that ultimate kind of primary goal that you have. So studying Wu Wei, it's kind of a method of simplicity, and I find that it's very serene in the way that it expresses how we can manage our thoughts and emotions in a very wise way as we move forward in life. And I simply wanted to come over and express that because I want this message to simply be able to establish the concept of Wu Wei in my mind, because otherwise I'm definitely going to forget about it, and it's going to slip my mind and go into my subconscious as I focus on various other enterprises and such. So I want to be able to establish that whatever the situation is you need to be able to simplify into what really needs to be done, what needs to get done, what doesn't need to get done, what do you want to be able to do, what is it that you want to pursue, because ultimately we need to be able to climb these smaller steps that we maybe don't want to in order to get to the end goal. Ultimately, if you don't want, you might want to just get to the top of the mountain, but in order to do that, we have to actually be able to take the small steps and climbs that are necessary, even if this means that you hurt yourself in the process. If you have to sacrifice the time in order to get that done, it all means that those are parts of the process that you need to be able to complete in order to get to the top. And in this Wu Wei, it's more of a simple process. It's not really describing the way that you should go about doing this, but more what you should not be doing while you're doing it. And if that makes sense, if you climb a step every single day and then you just climb back down in order to go to work the very next day, you're never going to make progress in the ultimate mountain that you want to climb. You'll eventually just be doing the same thing over and over again and kind of repeating that step. Of course, you might master this step. Maybe it'll take you 10 minutes to do the first climb on your first try, but then you can do it in under 50 seconds by maybe your 100th try. And yes, ultimately you are making progress, but is it really making progress in the way that you want it? Ultimately, learning is a gift, and given the intellect that we're able to absorb and all the information that we're able to collect over the years, in even a mere few hours, it's generally very recommended that I suggest to you that you find a topic of interest and you're able to read more about it. However, as time pressures us, and as we're raised into kind of a situation where the people who want to learn have to be able to forced into a field that they only partially like, then it becomes the issue of whether learning or not itself is actually something that'll provide us passion. We want to be able to source our passion because this is what keeps us surging forward. It keeps our motivation up, and it what ultimately allows us to feel that type of long-term fulfillment that a lot of people are looking for. But if we're forced into a subject of partial liking, then this does not always emerge, and because of that, you may be able to work long-term, and you might be happy when the ultimate fulfillment occurs. However, that's also going to be a short-term type of gratification that you have to consider, because the steps, if you don't enjoy the process, you're not going to like the future as well. You might enjoy it for a couple of seconds, you might be able to bathe in the glory of whatever achievement you're able to achieve, but it's never going to be enough for you, because if you're able to accomplish one thing, your brain automatically diverts to the next. If you know that you're capable of doing something of that caliber, then you automatically want to be able to upgrade. That's why individuals, they might be able to accomplish so much and then still be wanting to do the next thing, because for them, it's like taking step 1 to 2 is the same as taking the step from 10 to 11. Even though for some individuals, they want to be just at the step 11. They're like, I would be happy with my life if I was at step 10 and I wouldn't even strive for more. Trust me, if you were in that situation, that you would be striving. And that's ultimately just what I wanted to express. And as I mentioned, as the summer closes, I want to be able to use this last week in order to finish my book. I want to be able to have something actually physical to show for a lot of the time that I encapsulated within it. I don't want to end it off like a lot of these other books that I've written maybe half-heartedly. And I want to be able to completely publish it, because having that book in hand shows and represents a virtue that a lot of individuals aren't able to achieve. And even though I'm not saying it because it's a very impossible or improbable venture, thousands of people have written books before, I want to be able to say it for my personal satisfaction, because I feel like if I'm able to step that milestone, then I'm okay with stepping to the next. I don't want to stop there, and that's ultimately something that I want to be able to pursue. So yeah, that's all I wanted to express. If there's any other expression or anything, that ideas that I come about during my process of learning more about the world, about society, about all these various intellectual topics, then I'll come by and tell you about it as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, then nice, and see you.